I'd like to now introduce our first industry speaker, Mr. John Shaw, who is the Chief Innovation Officer with Kingspan Group. I think yesterday Kingspan announced a sterling set of results and acquisitions from last year, and they're one of Ireland's indigenous shining stars. So John is going to share the story of innovation within Kingspan with us. Thank you.
Thanks everybody. I have about 20 minutes to cover the topic. So what I want to do is talk about the business of innovation in Kingspan and some observations in the macroeconomic sphere that we see looking across the world and looking into the future from Kingspan. But there's three thoughts I'd like to leave you with at the end of my presentation. Firstly, Kingspan is the world leader in energy efficiency solutions. Secondly, innovation is integral to our culture in Kingspan. And finally, when you look at successful innovators, what you're generally looking at is open, disruptive innovators who have strong processes. And I'll specifically talk about that to explain where I'm coming from. So to do this, I'll talk about our vision, our business environment, our culture. I'll give some examples of the things we've been doing. And an outlook, 2020 comes up a lot in our conversation, obviously today, Horizon 2020. Where do we see 2020 a mere 60 months from now when we look at it from Kingspan? And the topic of sustainable cloud, we think, is a major change in industry that we want to talk about as well. So on our vision, in Kingspan, we have a vision of a world that's completely sustainable, a world that's highly energy efficient in terms of energy generation and energy usage. We see this transition to sustainability happening all over the world, in Europe, in North America, and driven by places like China, which have caused a major price crash in things like solar PV creation. But the forces driving this sustainability, climate change, we're all familiar with the major changes taking place there. There's a growing demand for energy. You look at China, where last year China added 100,000 megawatts of new generating capacity to its grid. Germany's grid is 86,000 megawatts. China added Germany to its grid last year. It'll do it this year, it'll do it next year. China will add 30 Germanys to its grid by 2030. Where's that energy going to come from? And that causes major change to fossil fuel price. We're in a bit of a dip at the moment at $50 a barrel or so, but that, as we all know, is merely a blip on the long-term journey to the day when there simply is no oil, no coal, no gas. And energy security in Europe is a particular issue. You look at what's happening in Eastern Europe, we're very dependent on Russia for our natural gas. Across Europe, the European Commission has put in place, going back over a decade now, a program of changes to influence energy generators to move away from that dependency, move towards renewable energy on a large scale. So, as they say in China, crisis what crisis? And when you write the pictograph for crisis in Chinese, you end up writing side by side the pictographs for danger and opportunity. And in every crisis, there is indeed opportunity. And Ireland has a huge opportunity on this road to sustainable energy. Dr. Mark DeLucci, University of California, has written extensively on this, and in an article in the IEEE magazine from a couple of years back, he describes that there is no technological barrier to a world running exclusively on renewable energy. The barrier is perhaps political and social rather than technological. So just talking about Kingspan, so we pride ourselves on our agile management model, on our entrepreneurial culture, and we've been through three phases in our history. A phase of focus on specification, followed by a focus on the environment, and now a focus on energy efficiency. And our results were out yesterday. Those of you who followed it will have seen that our earnings are up 16% on 2013. So 2014 results very positive. We have four product sets, just briefly to explain what they are. About 60% of our revenue comes from insulated panels. This is where you have highly thermally efficient expanded foam between two metal layers. And those metal layers are available in a wide variety of colors and textures. That's a photograph of Jaguar Land Rover's main building in England. And on the roof is Kingspan integrated solar panel. That's actually the largest solar PV installation in Britain. About a quarter of our sales comes from insulation board. This is the same as the first product except minus the metal on either side. It's used in floors and walls and ceilings. 9% of our sales come from raised access floors, widely used in data centers throughout the world. And then finally, about 8% of our sales from environmental products. solar thermal, micro wind, pollution control systems, fuel storage systems. We have a healthy pipeline of innovation. We have under 9 separate themes. We have products coming to the market regularly throughout 2015 and 2016. And then across the globe, we actually operate in 85 countries. We have factories in 20 countries. We have 62 factories in total. In fact, only 4% of our business is now generated from the Irish market, and we employ about 7,000 people worldwide. So the business environment that we're in, when you think about major disruptive innovations of the past, they tend to have lasting effect. Aqueducts allowed Rome to grow to 1 million citizens 2,000 years ago. The steam engine opened up North America, permanent price crash in staple food prices. Electricity allowed buildings to grow to 100 floors. But the major disruption of our era is coming from consumer-driven IT. So if you think about the impact social media, mobility, big data, and cloud are having on our world, it's affecting all of our businesses. This demand for easier, simpler, faster, cheaper IT. Businesses today, our customers, our suppliers, and ourselves, we generally make our decisions by checking out our competitors and our collaborators online. So cold calling just doesn't cut it anymore. The traditional sales funnel has been replaced now with more of an intimate experience for the customer. So whether we're the customer or the seller, the information that's needed to compete today and to retain the customer is far greater than ever before. And this is bringing about a change where not only do we need to be a good digital operator, how we run our business, but we need to be a very good digital connector, how we connect with our customer, to become a digital master. So on innovation culture in Kingspan, innovation is the creation of better products, better processes, better services, as distinct from invention, where we're looking at creation of the idea itself, or improvement, doing something slightly better than before. But it's important to think of innovation in terms of a continuum. This is the model from the Dublin Group, which looks at not only product innovation, but process, finance, and delivery innovation. So if you think about how Virgin used the brand that they have, not only to sell records, as they did initially, but to sell airline tickets and railways and radio stations. Think about how GE innovated on the process with Six Sigma to radically change things. So while product innovation is key, innovation has to be looked at across a continuum in business. Open innovation, similarly, it's not about ideas generated internally, it's about ideas coming from a wide variety of collaborators and sources. This whole concept of the virtuous helix of public, private, and academic collaboration comes in here. And then when you think of disruptive innovation, how to create a new market that disrupts an existing market. It's happening a lot in IT, but it's happening in Kingspan with our products too. I mentioned the solar PV product solution for Jaguar. The largest solar PV installation in Ireland is on the roof of Kingspan's Portadown facility. And this is where we've taken our existing products, we've added in a layer of intelligence by bringing in solar, because once you're generating energy, your products start to become smart products, a major change for us. It's all very well having a great idea and getting innovators and early adopters, but unless you can cross the chasm, you can't get to that next stage, quoting Moore's technology adoption life cycle here. And the three ingredients of that, the first one, the virtuous helix, mentioned already by me, but when you look at Ireland on the EU's innovation index, we're pretty good. I'm not sure why some of the colors are blocked out here, but we're just over the average for the EU. But up at the far end there, there's something very different going on in Finland, Germany, Denmark, and Sweden. And one of the things that they're doing very well up there is they have a higher than average score in public-private co-publications. So they're really doing something that we're learning from in Ireland. The second ingredient is the right people on the bus. Open innovators are different. And in the Harvard Business Review article from May 2012, very good article on what is so different about open innovators. They're particularly good at observing, questioning, and idea networking. And what they're good at, we can all learn. Indeed, some people are particularly good at open innovation when you think of Steve Jobs, how he transformed telephony, music, and animation. The third magic ingredient is the culture of innovation. There are many startups that are highly innovative but lack the discipline to grow and to sustain themselves. Equally, there are organizations that are highly disciplined but bureaucratic and stifle innovation. And the delicate balance is where great organizations get the two things right, as we believe we do in Kingspan. And you can actually measure the culture of innovation, and indeed Intel have put into the public domain their model for measuring innovation through the Innovation Value Institute. But without leadership, you have trouble, and leadership, again, very important in Kingspan, how we measure progress on our innovation, how we effectively communicate it, and how we assess our current state. We're constantly looking at the market, constantly looking at opportunities. So to give some examples, our head office in Kings Court, in 2014, we fully refurbished using our own technology in an innovative way. We looked at it from an envelope approach across 6 elements: energy generation, consumption, energy loss, water usage, renewable transportation, and the overall management framework. So using our own solar PV, mentioned many times already, we now generate more electricity than we consume. Using our Kingspan integrated LED lighting, we cut our electricity usage for lighting by 75%. Using technology from Intel and Microsoft, we've put in place a fully electronic management system. So we're one of the first adopters of the Intel Quark, developed by Philip Moyna at Intel Leakslip, and ISO 50001 certification against that. So our management system, which we can show our customers, is using 8 of our own products in collaboration with Intel Ireland. So it's a good example of collaboration, where collaboration meets innovation. And then, of course, measuring, very key in everything we do in Kingspan, to measure performance, to look at what was our result for 2013 versus our improved 2014 on this topic. And we've more on the way. We have our electric vehicle charging, Kingspan electric vehicle charging in place since September. Our CEO drives a Tesla. We're putting our Kingspan wind and Kingspan heat pump solution in there as well. So we're living the dream. We're proving that it is possible to have a fully carbon, not only a carbon zero building, but an aim to have a carbon zero company. So right across the globe, our intention is that our entire corporation becomes carbon zero. So on to 2020. Jeremy Rifkin's book, The Third Industrial Revolution, talks about how the internet and renewable energy are creating distributed capitalism, a new way of looking at business. Microgeneration of electricity, the ability to store, the very cheap availability of IT has changed the game. In the past, with IT, it was all about function over data, the torturous PO system. But in the future, it's all about data over function. In other words, the intimate information about the customer's buying habits or your product performance in the field. And Intel talk about how this is creating a major evolution, that by 2020 there will be 50 billion microprocessors in the world, 80% of which will be in the fabric of our world, in air conditioners, in elevators, in our cars, in Kingspan products. So to finish on the topic of sustainable cloud, as we see this major change to cloud computing, this delivery of computing as a service rather than as a product, where you don't have to worry about where that computing is taking place, that is happening at a time when we're very worried as a species about sustainability. Where's our future going to be on this planet? We need to decarbonize our economy, we need to move to renewable energy, and we need to do that without destroying our civilization. One of the elements of that is to look at sustainable cloud computing. And Ireland is becoming a major hub globally for cloud computing. Indeed, Apple announced yesterday a major investment in Ireland, but all the major IT companies are in Ireland, and they all like Ireland for cloud computing. One of the reasons is that you can run a data center in Ireland without air conditioning because of our climate. But we also have to address the energy supply and usage question. And this is a major interest to Kingspan, to look at how we can play a bigger and bigger role in this area in an innovative way. And of course, as Henry Ford said back in 1926, whether you think you can do something or not, you're right. Your perception of it influences your ability to get things done. And also, don't forget vision. John F. Kennedy, great man to quote, when you talk about vision, we choose to go to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept and one we are willing to postpone, and one which we intend to win. That's in September 1962, and July 1969, Apollo 11 walks on the moon. So when we move into this major change towards sustainable energy, it may not be as hard as getting to the moon, but it will be hard. But it will be a major opportunity for all our businesses in Ireland, and it's one that Kingspan is very centrally focused on. So hopefully I've left you with the message that we are the world leader in energy efficiency solutions, that our innovation is integral to our culture, and that successful innovators have an approach that's open, it's disruptive, and a strong focus on processes taken. Thank you.